Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for taking the time to join us today to celebrate the launch of CreativeCoastDonegal.ie with our special guest, Sonya Lennon. Sonya was born in Donegal, so we are going to claim her as a Donegal woman. Sonya is a great example and role model of an innovative, highly successful creative entrepreneur. The Creative Coast Donegal is an initiative of the Donegal Local Enterprise Office, and we are delighted to launch the new website as the next stage of delivery of the objectives arising from the Strategic Action Plan for Creative Entrepreneurs in Donegal. Before Sonya joins us to deliver her keynote address, we will be joined by Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, who will officially launch CreativeCoastDonegal.ie, and Head of Enterprise Michael Tunney. To kick off proceedings today, we are going to play a short video to give you a background to the initiative and to review, document and celebrate what Creative Coast Donegal has accomplished to date. We have so much talent and potential working within the creative industries in Donegal. We are thrilled to launch the Creative Coast website, and our ambition is that this website will become the platform to showcase and promote Donegal's creative industries to a much wider audience.
In 2014, the Local Enterprise Office engaged MCO to develop a strategic action plan for the creative entrepreneurs in Donegal. And we launched that in early 2015, and it identified a number of key actions and objectives which we would seek to implement over the following years. The 2015 plan in particular highlighted the need to develop a creative partnership, which we did by setting up the steering committee for the implementation of the creative plan. And that's chaired by a private sector and a significant private sector involvement in the initiative. We also then set about, tailoring and adapting the supports of the Local Enterprise Office to the needs of the creative sector. And an example of that would be the investment programme, which saw around some of 100,000 earmarked for investment. And we ran a programme in which I think 5 creative businesses received investment through that programme. In 2019 then we reviewed the programme and rewrote the programme, and I suppose in that programme there was 3 key objectives. One was about supporting the existing and emerging entrepreneurs in the creative sector. The second key objective was building the profile of the sector in the county and outside of the county, and the third key objective was linking the creative industry with the educational sector. And then there was a range of activities to implement those key objectives. But in particular the 2019 strategy or plan had very much a strong focus on enhancing the digital capability of the creative entrepreneur sector in the county and using digital and all things online to enhance both market presence and also capability to deliver. So some of the examples then of activities outside of the plan over the last number of years, we ran 2 significant exhibitions, mainly part of Enterprise Weeks over the years with over 50 exhibitors, and were quite a success. And tied into that as well, we also had a number of trade fairs. So we took creatives to both Dublin, London and Philadelphia. Very significantly, we worked very closely with the Design and Craft Council of Ireland, and we were the first to deliver to work with the council to deliver the craft and design programme outside of Greater Dublin. Very significant development was the design and delivery of the Generate programme. We had engaged a man from the UK, Dave Parrish, a very significant track record in the whole area of the creative industries. And over a 2-year period he delivered that programme, and we gave him the objective of creating 17 full-time jobs through the programme, and thankfully I think the review of that indicated we had created over 26 jobs in those 16 participating businesses. And obviously then over the last number of years, we've had a range of guest speakers on various topics. For example, Erica Fox and Mark Black were 2 of those speakers. And then in the last 3 years, following on from our We Make Things publication, we had a book called We Create, in which we highlighted 8 creative industries, and that's in a hardback book that we produced and launched as part of Enterprise Week, and also there is a small film to go with each one of those, and they will feature as part of the new website. We're at a junction now where we're looking, I suppose, to enhance what we have done on the creative strategy by launching a new website which will have close to 200 listings on it. So the ongoing development of the creative sector in the county is very much tied in with this, one of the key objectives of the Strategic Enterprise Plan for Donegal for the next 10 years. It highlights the importance of the creative sector and creative industries in bringing innovation and creativity across all of the other sectors. So we will continue in the Local Enterprise Office, along with our stakeholders and the private businesses, to drive the creative businesses and the creative economy in Donegal.
The Creative Coast project is in a constant state of evolution. The new website marks the next phase of an exciting initiative that ensures continued growth and success for businesses in Donegal's creative sectors. Donegal has an abundance of talent working in the creative industries. We would like to encourage all in the creative sector to get involved by signing up on CreativeCoastDonegal.ie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our guests, including the guest of honour for today's event, Sonya Lennon. We're delighted to launch the new Creative Coast website, and I'm confident it will become a hub for the creative sector in Donegal, and we hope it will help members grow and promote their work and business, creating a broad and level playing field. Local Enterprise Office has been supporting Donegal businesses for many years, and last year provided almost 3,500 participants with online training programs and workshops. We realise that Donegal and its people have a rich and diverse creative history, from music to painting, crafts and design, and many more areas where Donegal people combine an entrepreneurial spirit with a creative vision. Local Enterprise Office Donegal recognises that we must nurture and help our creative community, and the Creative Coast website is about showcasing our talent and helping our creative talent make connections. The creative industries is a dynamic economic sector in its own right and plays an important role in the wider economy of Donegal. Creative industries in Donegal account for hundreds of jobs and millions of euro in the economy of this county. We recognise the value of the creative and digital sector to Donegal because of the work of the team of the Local Enterprise Office in Donegal over the past few years. There's a momentum happening in the creative industries in the county, and this website is about driving that momentum forward. We look forward to seeing the Creative Coast Donegal grow and develop, and I have no doubt that the launch of this website will further promote the rich creative spirit and entrepreneurship that has been a fundamental part of Donegal's history. Gormagh.
GE agus fáilte go dtí an cheol ifigiúil don siomh-Idirlín nua fáinne an Costa Cráireachta Donegal. Agus a dús ba bhaithlim mo buchas a bhfuil dar Cairleach Chorlaigh Donegal Jack Murray. Welcome to you all here today for the launch of the newly revamped Creative Coast website. And first of all, I'd like to thank our Cairleach, Councillor Jack Murray, for his opening comments and the opening of today's session, and thank him for giving us his time. There has never been a more important time for businesses and industry to have a well-established and accessible online presence. And with the launch today of our new website, the Creative Coast is ensuring its continued growth and success in the future. The Creative Coast website will include an online directory and visualization tool that lists many of the best artists and creators in Donegal's creative and cultural sector. We commissioned this directory as part of the Creative Coast Donegal, an initiative which was first set up on the completion of the Strategic Action Plan for Creative Entrepreneurship in 2015. A key objective of this Strategic Action Plan was to create the right conditions here in Donegal for our creative entrepreneurs and to help provide continued support of the sector in the county. Also, a key objective was to raise the profile and awareness of the sector, both within the county and further afield. The Creative Coast has sought to achieve these goals by developing a shared vision and identity and by enabling an exchange of ideas. The provision of a live profile of the creative sector will enable the exchange of ideas and stimulate new opportunities among these talented individuals across many sectors in our county. The Creative Coast Donegal is overseen by a creative partnership committee made up of representatives from the public and private sector, facilitated and enabled by the local enterprise office in Donegal and chaired by a private sector chairperson. The committee seeks to deliver on the objectives outlined in the strategic plan. And these in particular cut across three key strands. The first of these is was to develop a coherent identity for the sector in Donegal and to inform people of potential opportunities within the sector. Second was to connect people across different disciplines and activities in the county. And the third was and is to broker partnerships around creative innovation. The Creative Coast project is by nature in a constant state of evolution. And the launch of the new website marks the next phase of this exciting initiative. Being part of the Creative Coast initiative gives members access to innovative ideas and workshops from professionals working in many different creative sectors. Equally important for these creative entrepreneurs is that the Creative Coast Donegal will allow them a much more readily access to international and national markets, as well as increasing their profile at home in Donegal. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we have all been restricted in what we can physically do. But I'd like to go back to 2019 for an example of how the Creative Coast has helped our innovators when the initiative supported 5 local designer makers showcase their incredible creative talents in Philadelphia when they took part in the Straight Out of Ireland gala event. Jewellery makers Hannah McGuinness and Anna Venkins, and knitwear specialist Bernie Murphy, Michelle McCarroll and Edel McBride were amongst 40 Irish-American artists and makers who showcased their work inspired by contemporary Ireland. We look forward to the world reopening fully so we can plan more outreach events like this and enable our creatives raise their ambition and their market opportunities. Working hand in hand with Donegal County Council's Creative Ireland Donegal Culture and Creativity Strategy 2018 to 2022, we're building upon the successes of the Creative Coast with a new clearly developed strategic approach set against a coherent vision with clear and measurable action points that directly addresses the business challenges, needs, and development objectives of the sector. We look forward to continuing this work. I would once again like to point out that the creative sector has been identified in the 10-year Strategic Enterprise Plan for Donegal as a key sector for future development. And this is based not only on its latent opportunities for development within the sector, but also what the creative sector can bring to the other 6 sectors within the county by way of innovation and new ideas. And we look forward to working with the sector in delivering on the roadmap for the creative sector within the strategic plan. I'd now like to extend a warm welcome to our keynote speaker today, Sonya Lennon. Sonya has over 30 years experience as a creative director, designer, broadcaster, entrepreneur, and strategic consultant and speaker. She is a multi-award winning social entrepreneur and founded the global not-for-profit initiative Dress for Success in Ireland in 2011, which has successfully supported over 3,000 women into employment and economic independence. Through her advocacy work, she has campaigned at a European level for gender equality in the workplace by addressing the gender pay and opportunity gap. Sonya founded women's wear brand Lennon Courtney with business partner Brendan Courtney in 2012, which now ships internationally under license to Dunnes Stores. We're delighted Sonya is here with us today to share her wealth of experience with you. To conclude, I would just say that as we face into the fourth quarter of the year, we wish all our creatives a busy few months ahead, as we collectively continue to push the message of supporting local designers, makers and businesses by shopping and gifting locally. Again, thanks to everyone for being here with us today, and I will now hand you over to Sonya to officially launch the new Creative Coast website.
I'm Sonya Lennon, and I'm absolutely delighted to be speaking with you today, albeit remotely. I wish I was there in person. I wish we were all there in person, because today is a really important day. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, my story, the challenges that I faced, I suppose the solutions that I found along the way, and the importance of community and the importance of relationships in business. And I want you to know that I walk in your shoes as a creative business owner. I understand the challenges that you face, and I faced many of them myself. It is not easy. Today is a celebration, and it's also an opportunity, I suppose, to learn and grow and ask questions. And I really very much wish that we were live so that I could answer the questions that you have for me, because that is my lifeblood, and what makes me tick is being able to respond to my audience rather than just talk at them. But I will do my very best to engage you today, to tell you about my background, and to share, as I said, what I've learned. So to go back to the beginning, I suppose I had an unconventional start to my career. My parents had paid for private education, so I come from a very privileged background, I suppose. And rather than using that as they had wanted me to go to third level, to get a degree, which neither of them had, I decided that wasn't for me. And I decided it wasn't for me for a very specific reason. I'm a very practical person. I don't want to learn how to do something. I just want to do it. And I suppose consequently, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. But I guess because they've been in real time, they've become really, really key learnings. So the one thing that I knew was that I was absolutely passionate about clothes and fashion. My mom was a transatlantic air hostess when I was growing up, and I suppose I was the first kid that I knew who had all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. The first ever pair of leg warmers my friend group saw were on my legs. And, you know, that might sound trivial, but in fact, being the kid that had the new thing definitely informed the power of clothes, the power of image, not just for how it made me feel, but how it kind of got other people excited around me. And, you know, clothes are very powerful, image is very powerful. And I suppose that was the point at which I knew I was hooked. So at the start of my career, after I finished school, I went into retail, into sort of high fashion retail, and just fell in love with the international collections, fell in love with selling, which I think is also a major factor in my career and where I will continue to go throughout my life. And it's a real challenge for creators to also be salespeople, because they're two very, very different parts of the brain. They're two very different ways of thinking. But we, I suppose, have a responsibility to be our own best salespeople. And for me, it was a real thrill. You know, I wasn't on commission. I wasn't making money out of the sales, but I felt excited when I made a sale and when a woman walked out of the store feeling great with what she'd purchased. And I think from very early on, I understood the value of a lifetime customer and nurturing relationships, building trust, not selling something to somebody just because it will bring more money into the till, but thinking about advising first and selling second. So that was definitely a big part of my transition to the next phase. But it was also on a fundamental and practical level, understanding what clothes did on a body. And that 7 years that I spent in retail became a foundation for Lennon Courtney, which is the clothing line that I have with Brendan Courtney, but also the foundation for my styling career, which was the next step on the journey. So fashion stylists would come in and out of the stores that I worked in. And I mean, it's a sort of a rare feeling now at this time in my life, but it was that kind of fizzy excitement of creation and of that feeling of, wow, these people are coming in, they're going to tell a story with clothes, and I can be part of that. I can, show them things that are in store in the back room, and, and so they would walk away with the clothes that I'd selected for their theme. And when in, 3 or 4 weeks time, I would see that fashion story in a magazine and see the items that I'd selected to be part of it, I mean, that was pure unbridled joy for me. So it didn't take too long before I joined the dots and realized that if that gave me true excitement, I should be pursuing it for myself. So I think at the age of about 21, I went freelance, and effectively, as far as I'm concerned, became unemployable at that point because, as a freelancer or a single person enterprise, you're kind of like, you're a bit of an outlaw, you're doing things your own way. You're not conforming to anybody else's rules or culture. And there is a danger in that. And there is a huge opportunity in that as well. So I spent 20 years building my craft and my client base as a commercial stylist. And that meant styling fashion campaigns, TV commercials, music videos, some movies, short films, theatre productions, basically any medium that needed clothes to tell a story. I could adapt my skills to do that. And really, I had the best time. And all the teams that I worked with were brought together for specific tasks. And so it was a bit like the circus, you didn't necessarily like everybody, but you kind of loved them and trusted them. And they were part of the alchemy of what we did, what we created. And I suppose at the end of those 20 years, I'd racked up a lot of international travel, going to fantastic locations. I had a roster of amazing, high value clients who would book me again and again and again, working with amazing people in the industry internationally. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And at the time, I remember I was also a contributor to first Head to Toe on RTE and then Off the Rails, 2 fashion magazine shows. And I had done this fashion shoot for them for Off the Rails in probably early 2008. And it was significant because they wanted me to do makeovers, and I was way too fond of my own image as a fashion stylist at that stage. And I said, there's absolutely no way I was doing makeovers that I would, and it was specifically around plus size models. Sorry, there's a fly flying in here, which is not adding to the mood. And they wanted to do makeover on plus size women. And I said that rather than do a makeover per se, I would create a tableau, like a beautiful montage of these 8 women looking amazing and celebrating their curves in high fashion. And at the time in 2008, it was pretty much pre-e-commerce. It was really, really big production to find the clothes to make these women look fantastic, given that the size ranges weren't available. But we called in stuff from everywhere. And what happened was it hit a nerve. And when it went to air, RTE got a huge amount of messages, emails, letters about how much people loved it and what a celebration it was of you know, a much broader range of body image and how women identified with it more. And I remember the producer saying to me at the time, "This isn't the last that you've heard of this." And I kind of puzzled at it. I didn't know what she was talking about. But by the summer of 2008, RTE had contacted me and asked me, would I consider presenting Off the Rails? And for all the reasons that I mentioned beforehand about my lovely freelance career, my great roster of clients, the international travel, all the fun stuff, I thought it was the most crazy idea I'd ever heard and kind of brushed it off. But they kept coming back. They kept asking me. They wouldn't let it lie. And they eventually asked me to come in and do a screen test. So I did a screen test. And then at the end of it, they said to me, look, we really, really want you to do this. Will you do a two-hander with Brendan Courtney and present Off the Rails in the autumn? And I said, I really had to sit down and have a chat with myself, because this was not on the plan. It was not part of the agenda that I would suddenly transition from being a commercial stylist into a TV presenter. And where I had no anxiety about presenting, as you can probably tell, I've no problem talking, communicating, putting myself out there. But the anxiety was around losing my foothold in my career, and losing those clients and making a mistake and not being happy and having to go backwards, and maybe the door to backwards being closed at that point. So there was a critical decision to make. And during the process of about 6 weeks of mulling over, I realized that if I said no to this opportunity, the statistical likelihood of it ever representing itself was minimal. Nobody was going to come for a second time and ask me to host a primetime TV show. So I thought, well, I might as well do it, because the worst case scenario is that I don't like it and I get out. And then there's nothing lost, and I've tried it. And what happened was, I was contracted from July in 2008, and we were to air in September 2008. And you don't have to be a historical genius to realize that September 2008 was when the world changed in terms of the financial crisis. And basically the landmass that I had been standing on of commercial styling just sank. There was no commercial work. The whole advertising industry dried up, and everything that I had taken for granted, I suppose, slipped away. But I found myself in a position where I was suddenly contracted to the national broadcaster. And I suppose there are huge similarities between the financial crisis at the time and the pandemic that we have been coming through, and hopefully are coming through. So there's always going to be a crisis. There's always going to be a pandemic, whether it's COVID or something else. There's always going to be a curveball that'll hit you, knock you off your feet. And I suppose as entrepreneurs, as creators, as individuals who are responsible for our own existence, the really important thing is to find the opportunity in every crisis, as Winston Churchill said. It can be really hard, because if we're toppled, the hardest thing to do is to get back up into the saddle and find a new way of doing things. But really, many of you sitting out there have had to pivot. You've had to turn things around. You've had to find new ways to exist. The great thing about this is that my dad taught me when he was teaching me to drive, he said, you brake into a corner and you accelerate out. So now, with the launch of this fantastic portal for creativity in Donegal, you can use this collective experience and this collective platform to accelerate out of a crisis and into new opportunities. what COVID has shown us more than anything else, and even looking at the sustainability report that was recently published in terms of climate change, one of the key ways that we can do our part to protect the planet is by buying local, and consumers know that. And they know it not just because it's the right thing to do, but because they want to support local, because local and local bespoke, creative, artisan products give you something that the big guys can't give you. They give you soul, they give you authenticity, they give you human touch, and a sort of emotional endowment that you will never get from Amazon. So in terms of a position of opportunity, it may not seem like it, but we're all there. We're on the cusp of it. So it's about looking round the corner, flowing around the obstacle, and asking ourselves, how can I maximize this situation? So one of I suppose the biggest learnings for me in making the transition to broadcasting was, firstly, challenges are there to be taken. Opportunities are there to be taken. And being open to them, having your eyes wide and seeing opportunities for what they might be, and not being afraid to take them, because fear is a terrible paralysis for so many of us. So when I went into RTE, the broadcaster in their wisdom had booked a presentation coach, a media coach for me, because I'd contributed to the show, but I hadn't really been a broadcaster before. So I met with my series producer in the canteen, and this fabulous man called Paul Masalides, who I'll never forget. And he took one look at me and he said, "Can I have a word with your series producer, please?" And he went and he spoke to her for no more than 30 seconds. And we then went into one of the training rooms. And he said, "Sit down." We both sat down, and he said, "Now, do you want to tell me what the problem is?" I kind of looked at him and I said, "What are you talking about?" And he said, "Well, I can tell from your body language that you don't want to be here, that you're not entirely comfortable with this role." So he said, "Do you want to tell me what the problem is?" So I said, "Okay, I will tell you what the problem is. The problem is that I have spent 20 years honing a career for myself, honing a reputation, and honing a list of clients who I hold very dear. And they have created for me those things: a healthy annual salary, a really nice lifestyle. I'm my own boss, and I'm really worried." And bear in mind, this is before the financial crisis. It was before everything went south. "I'm really worried that if I do this show, that I will lose that. But more than that," I said, "I'm really worried." I said, "I've made my peace with that decision, but I am worried now that I'm going to lose my reputation, that I'm going to be perceived as some TV blonde bimbo, and that my professionalism will be in doubt." And he said to me, "I just had a word with your series producer, and I asked her what she wanted you to be on the show, and she didn't have an answer for me. So he said, whoever you want to be, you can be. Nobody else has any clue what they want you to be." And that was such a revelation to me. And I suppose I realized that nobody ultimately cares. Nobody cares about the decisions you make. Nobody cares if nobody has a prejudged idea of who you are except you. You need to be the one, as a business owner, as a creative, who is projecting your authentic version of you in the best possible way. And I suppose it's a real challenge, but having the confidence to be that person and to not let anybody's idea about who you should be get in the way of that, because their opinion on who you should be isn't valid. The only thing that matters is who you believe you are and who you think you should be in business, in life, in every other aspect. But I think that sort of knowledge that nobody really gives a damn to join the dots, to make those assumptions, unless you give them the information to do it, that's quite liberating. It allows us to really focus on the stories that we want to tell. And for me, I spoke about clothes and the power of clothes and telling stories with clothes. we also tell stories with our bodies, with our words, with our images, with our products, with our services. And storytelling it's really key. And it's key, particularly now when we're looking at this move towards local business and the power of the local message. What's beautiful about what you do is that it's connected to you, to a human, to a person. It's traceable right back to your studio, to your front room, your garage, wherever you work. It's not a faceless warehouse or a distribution center. So you have an opportunity to own that storytelling, to ground yourself in your own community, in your own town, in your own land, wherever you are, and tell that story to endow people emotionally into who you are and what your product stands for. Because it's not enough anymore to just put a product out there and just let it stand on its own 2 feet. There has to be purpose. And it's one of the real key trends that we're seeing coming through. And I don't mean trends lightly, I mean market trends, is that businesses with purpose, with meaning, perform so much better because there's a sort of a unity of messaging. It allows you to tell a story that makes sense. So with Len and Courtney, for example, we have 3 pillars for what we do, and they are empowerment, equality, and confidence. So whether we're creating our podcast, Len and Courtney Left Alone, whether we're creating a collection, whether we're doing an event, this event, agreeing to do this event is about confidence, empowerment, equality. It's getting the message out there and trying to help people to understand the tools that can grow the potential of them and their businesses. So what do you stand for? In today's world, we need to know what we stand for. And there is also a piece, I think, that can't be ignored about giving back. So I founded 2 nonprofits that I was, I suppose, compelled to found. It wasn't a sort of a strategic move to say, well, if giving is so important and purpose is so important, what am I going to do about it? It was almost sort of vocational with Dress for Success, which is now 10 years old. And the purpose for Dress for Success is empowering women towards economic independence by giving them the tools to succeed at interview. And we've helped 3,500 women into employment through the services that we deliver nationally. And I'm extremely proud of that. I'm not in the operations. The team are amazing. They deliver extraordinary services on a very, very minimal budget. But I believe in everything that we do in Dress for Success, because I believe that, you know, looking good, feeling good, and performing as to your best shouldn't be anything other than democratic and accessible to everybody. So maybe, you know, it might be a good idea to ask yourself, well, what could I possibly do in my community to support the people around me? And you might be thinking, well, look, I'm barely keeping myself alive, or, you know, this has been such a struggle with COVID. How can I possibly give? There's giving that doesn't involve money. There's giving that involves inviting people into your studio, speaking to them, speaking to schools. I think, you know, increasingly we're looking at increased pathways through education that doesn't necessarily involve 3rd level education. It could be apprenticeships. You know, is there an opportunity for you to launch an apprenticeship into your business from the local community? Maybe there are marginalized or underrepresented people who would grasp that opportunity. So it's about kind of keeping the radar open and see where you can add value to the people who support you, who help you to thrive as a business. So that purpose piece, it's back to authenticity. You cannot do that unless it's an authentic drive. So, you know, what I've given you are, I suppose, suggestions, but that doesn't mean that, you know, think about what makes you laugh or cry, because the things that move us emotionally are the things that matter to us. So, you know, what are the things that you could embed into your business that could add value to your community or to the country? Like, you know, think as big as you want to think. And you might think, what does all this have to do with, digital growth of my business? Well, everything that I have spoken about already applies to your digital presence, because, digital is only a medium. It's not the solution in itself. So when we're really clear about who we are, what our story is, what we stand for, and how we contribute, your digital platform is the opportunity to share that message, and to work together as a pool and a group of creatives. And one of the most powerful things that I do is meet quarterly with a group of 10 other entrepreneurs. Well, in fact, 8 other entrepreneurs and 2 entrepreneurs. So two of our group are in multinationals and the rest are entrepreneurs. And actually, that's an amazing dynamic, because they bring lessons and learning and processes and ways of doing things that are absolutely best practice. Because while it's brilliant to be your own boss, we can get trapped in the weeds. We can't see how to do things at a level of excellence because we're too busy in the treadmill of the day-to-day. But that network, and I would really strongly urge you, if there are 2 or 3 or 4 people who you believe you can create a network with from this audience, reach out. Develop a system where you can connect, even digitally, every 4 weeks, not even every 4 weeks, every quarter, or whatever works for you. And a really simple tool for that is to say, well, I'm meeting you now. In 12 weeks' time, when I come back to you, what are the 3 things that I'll have achieved? Because unfortunately, it's really, really easy to lie to ourselves and to fool ourselves about the progress we're making. And what we're missing in that story is accountability. If you can develop a group that can help you and support you and allow you to grow, there's nowhere to hide, because in 12 weeks' time, when you go back to report on having done those 3 critical things, if you haven't done them, it's very hard to lie about it. And it's very hard to look those people who are there to support you in the eye and say, I didn't do it. And I suppose that brings me to, I suppose, the last piece of this, and it is about action. And there's a great phrase, which is that action eats intention for lunch. We all have intentions to do things in our businesses. It is pretty much impossible to get to do everything that we need to do. However, if we are honest with ourselves and honest with our business accountability groups, we have to think about what are the priority areas that we need to focus on as business owners and get them done. Because worrying about what people think, worrying about your own ability to achieve, worrying about whether you're doing it right, worrying about perfection, which, by the way, don't get me started on perfection. As far as I'm concerned, perfection is just fear in a fur coat. Nobody needs to be perfect. It's an iterative process. So everything we do, we have to start, we have to act, we have to get better, get better, get better. So, please don't use perfection as an excuse for not doing. Things only move forward if we act. And for myself and Brendan, when Lennon Courtney was about to die, the model that we had built was eating itself. The more we grew, the more the business was costing us. We didn't take a penny out of it. And I knew that we had to remodel it, strip it apart, take the value out, create a new model. And that's when we started talking to Duns. And that took action. It took an amount of fearlessness, because we really didn't know what we were getting into. And it took action to say, okay, we're diving in, we're starting the conversation, we're seeing what happens. So all of this kind of wraps into a theme, which is about clarity of where you want to get to in your business. And ultimately, we want to grow. We want to tell our story to more people. We cannot do everything. So understanding where our audience is, where our customers are, and speaking to them in their own terms on their own channels. So you don't have to do Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, YouTube. You don't have to do it all. You just have to speak to your customers in a language that they understand and that brings them forward to you on a platform where they already are. And if that's, in the flesh, unlikely in this day and age, great. But if it's on digital channels, understand where you should be speaking and what you should be saying. Now, I know the creative people in Donegal and Creative Coast have huge supports for all of you. Make sure that you reach out, make sure that you speak to them, make sure that you take the supports that are available, and make sure that you support each other as a community of creatives who can help to really magnify the work that you're doing in Donegal. By the way, a county that I was born in, I'm proud to shout out the fact that I was born in Donegal. It may have been due to a bump in the road, but that doesn't matter. I was still born in Donegal. I'm really hoping to see you in the near future at a physical event. Nothing would give me more pleasure than to make my way up to your beautiful county, the place of my birth, and to meet you all in person. Fingers crossed that can happen soon. In the meantime, congratulations to all of you who have brought your profiles live on Creative Coast Donegal. And if you're on this call, I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't brought your profile live, get in touch, make it happen, be part of the community, stand up, be counted, and be proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sonya. So many fascinating insights and great tips for entrepreneurial success. I would also like to thank Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, for officially launching CreativeCoastDonegal.ie, and Head of Enterprise Michael Tunney for his steadfast dedication and support of the creative industries in Donegal, without which we would not be able to launch this platform today. The last item on our agenda is to showcase the website. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Kieran McLaughlin of Diaga in Buncrana for his tremendous work in the design and development of the website. I will now share my screen and give a brief outline of the features of CreativeCoastDonegal.ie. The website was designed under the 3 pillars of connect your creativity, power your creativity, and illuminate your creativity. Connect Your Creativity is our online database of existing creative businesses in Donegal. We currently have nearly 200 businesses listed. This database gives us a live profile of the sector, and we hope creative businesses will use it to find other creatives, offering opportunities for collaboration, as well as a hub to find creative products and services from Donegal. You can list your creative business or update your existing profile if you already have one. It is as easy as 1, 2, 3. You just click sign up now and fill out the form with your details. Once completed, you will then be directed to our member dashboard, and from there you can create a new business listing or check our members list, and if your business already exists, just claim the business listing button. Power Your Creativity is about building your capacity as business owners. This area will feature a collection of online resources, tutorials and webinars tailored to the needs of the creative sector in Donegal. We hope these opportunities will facilitate exchange of ideas and to assist creative entrepreneurs with enhancing their skill set to grow their business. Illuminate Your Creativity is where we'll host and document the creative strategies and any updates to our aims and objectives and plans for further growth and initiatives. We are on all social channels, so do give us a follow, or to contact us, email info@CreativeCoastDonegal.ie. To wrap up proceedings today, I want to thank you all for joining us. The success of the Creative Coast Donegal initiative will be the sum of its members, so please get involved. Together, we can realise the potential of Donegal to become a renowned creative hub and recognised as the place to start and grow a successful global business within the creative industries. We have the potential and, most importantly, the talent. Again, thanks for joining us, and we hope to work with you going forward.
In 2014, the Local Enterprise Office engaged MCO to develop a strategic action plan for the creative entrepreneurs in Donegal. And we launched that in early 2015, and it identified a number of key actions and objectives which we would seek to implement over the following years. The 2015 plan in particular highlighted the need to develop a creative partnership, which we did by setting up the steering committee for the implementation of the creative plan. And that's chaired by a private sector and a significant private sector involvement in the initiative. We also then set about, tailoring and adapting the supports of the Local Enterprise Office to the needs of the creative sector. And an example of that would be the investment programme, which saw around sum of 100,000 earmarked for investment. And we ran a programme in which I think 5 creative businesses received investment through that programme. In 2019 then we reviewed the programme and rewrote the programme, and I suppose in that programme there was 3 key objectives. One was about supporting the existing and emerging entrepreneurs in the creative sector. The second key objective was building the profile of the sector in the county and outside of the county. And the third key objective was linking the creative industry with the educational sector. And then there was a range of activities to implement those key objectives. But in particular, the 2019 strategy or plan had very much a strong focus on enhancing the digital capability of the creative entrepreneur sector in the county and using digital and all things online to enhance both market presence and also capability to deliver. So some of the examples then of activities outside of the plan over the last number of years, we ran 2 significant exhibitions, mainly part of Enterprise Weeks over the years with over 50 exhibitors, and were quite a success. And tied into that as well, we also had a number of trade fairs. So we took creatives to both Dublin, London and Philadelphia. Very significantly, we worked very closely with the Design and Craft Council of Ireland, and we were the first to deliver to work with the council to deliver the craft and design programme outside of Greater Dublin. Very significant development was the design and delivery of the Generate programme. We had engaged a man from the UK, Dave Parrish, a very significant track record in the whole area of the creative industries. And over a 2-year period, he delivered that programme, and we gave him the objective of creating 17 full-time jobs through the programme. And thankfully, I think the review of that indicated we had created over 26 jobs in those 16 participating businesses. And obviously then over the last number of years, we have a range of guest speakers on various topics. For example, Erica Fox and Mark Black were 2 of those speakers. And then in the last 3 years, following on from our We Make Things publication, we had a book called We Create, in which we highlighted 8 creative industries. And that's in a hardback book that we produced and launched as part of Enterprise Week. And also there is a small film to go with each one of those, and they will feature as part of the new website. We're at a junction now where we're looking, to enhance what we've done on the creative strategy by launching a new website, which will have close to 200 listings on it. So the ongoing development of the creative sector in the county is very much tied in with one of the key objectives of the Strategic Enterprise Plan for Donegal for the next 10 years. It highlights the importance of the creative sector and creative industries in bringing innovation and creativity across all of the other sectors. So we will continue in the Local Enterprise Office, along with our stakeholders and the private businesses, to drive the creative businesses and the creative economy in Donegal.
The Creative Coast project is in a constant state of evolution. The new website marks the next phase of an exciting initiative that ensures continued growth and success for businesses in Donegal's creative sectors. Donegal has an abundance of talent working in the creative industries. We would like to encourage all in the creative sector to get involved by signing up on CreativeCoastDonegal.ie.